Hi, friends. My name is Keru. If you don't know me, I usually don't make these types of videos. I usually don't talk about necessarily, Star Wars or movies. So this is a bit of a different thing. I'm guessing if I put Star Wars in the title of this video, a lot of people are going to click on it expecting just a fan talking about Star Wars. I am a fan. I will talk about Star Wars. But in general, my videos are about trying to influence the world, the real world, positively. So it's maybe a little more serious than just geek videos, if you will. But maybe this will interest you. And I want to say that if you don't want to hear anything about episode 8 or 9, I guess I should say, spoiler alert. I mean, I don't know what episode 8 and 9 are going to be about, but I will offer you a theory of what I think they might be about. And so if you don't want to hear a theory, then stop the video and watch something else. Okay. When the original trilogy came out, I was very young, but I saw those movies in the theaters, actually. I saw Return of the Jedi when it came out, and I was fascinated by the whole concept, the Jedi, the Force, everything. And it's pretty obvious that Star Wars has had a huge influence on my generation and the generation that came after. And I believe, if you know movies a little bit, if you might have noticed that movies are not just entertainment. They're also used to send messages and influence people. Movies are like music, like culture in general. They influence our society. And a movie like Star Wars, when shown to a young audience, can influence beliefs. And I believe part of my introduction to spirituality came from Star Wars. And I don't think I'm alone. I think a lot of kids, when they heard Yoda talk about the Force, were like, wow, that kind of makes sense. This sort of energy, that everything is together, and that maybe, the Force can be used for, like a power, and we can do things with it. And it was very fascinating. And I think a lot of people related to that. And I think maybe they related to that because part of it is true. I mean, Star Wars is not just, it doesn't just come from George Lucas's imagination. It's all based, it's not really a new story. People have always believed that there were these kinds of energies, and that maybe we could harness them and do something with them, and that everything was connected. It's in every religion. It's in every, a lot of philosophy. So it's not a new concept. George Lucas just made it very cool and very easy to grasp. So, when I heard that Disney were going to put out a new trilogy, and other movies too, but, I was very skeptical at first. Like, is it gonna be like, an Avengers movie, let's say, where it's just a lot of action, but the story is not very relevant? Or are they gonna go deeper into this concept? And I started thinking, well, what would I want Star Wars to be? What message could Star Wars be used to convey to the people? What would be useful to this new generation or to humanity now? I mean, we definitely have some serious issues, as a species. Could Star Wars help? What could the message possibly be? And I came up with this idea. I actually wrote like a sort of script, I guess, just for fun, And I mean, I didn't write a whole script. I wrote more like an idea that was basically one page. But it was sort of a layout of what this eventual trilogy could be. And I was very surprised when I saw the trailer for episode 8, The Last Jedi. It near the end of the trailer, we hear Luke Skywalker saying, I only know one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end. And when I heard that, I thought, whoa, that's what I had in mind when I wrote this sort of idea for a trilogy. And my idea was, and if you don't want to hear it, spoiler alert, whatever. My idea was that it would be nice if, the one thing that bothered me about the old Star Wars episode was that there was an elitist element to it. Like if you wanted to use the Force, you had to be a Jedi. And I thought, well, what would be useful for this new generation would be maybe to hear that everyone has access to the Force, and not everyone is aware of it, or not everyone has the consciousness level, high enough to realize their potential. But the Force is there. It's a tool. It's just there. It's just an energy that's there, and anyone can have access to it. And I believe we have a similar situation with humanity in the real world. There's all kinds of energies and possibilities that we're not tapping into because we're not interested in them, because the media, the scientific community is telling us that those things can't exist, and skepticism is very high in our society. I personally started meditating a few years ago, and it really changed my life, and it really changed the way I perceive the world now. And I do feel that I have abilities that I didn't have before. I've had dreams of future things that happened. I've had just a much deeper connection with people when I meet them. It's a different level than before. I feel that it's very hard to prove, but I really feel that I can manifest some things, events in my life in a much easier way than before. Just make things happen. And I don't feel that this is a weird thing or a special thing. I think it's an ability that we've always had. And I believe some people, an elite group on the planet, decided a long time ago that humanity should not have access to that, just a little elite. And what I see going on as far as governments and just the control system that we're in is that these people are using our power to create, to bring us unknowingly to create the world that they want, which is not good for us, but it's maybe good for them. So we're manipulated. And I thought, well, if the next Star Wars could show, it will never be like a pure positive movie because it's Star Wars. It's always about war. It's always about fighting so it will never be like a peaceful movie, I don't think. But maybe it could put in the kid's mind that, hey, maybe you're more than just a physical being with a few thoughts. Maybe you can do more than just touch stuff and add 2 + 2. Maybe there's another level to this. Maybe there's a spiritual level, and maybe there is there are maybe certain abilities you can use from that. And I think I believe these movies, if that's the direction they take, could serve us positively in the near future. But we'll see. It's in the hands of Disney right now. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe that's not at all what these movies are going to be about. But that's kind of what I'd like to see. And maybe the fact that when Luke Skywalker says it's time for the Jedi to end, the ideal scenario would be that we don't need Jedi anymore. We don't need Jedis because we finally have peace, because everyone's consciousness has been raised enough that there's no possibility of war. And I think that could happen on Earth. And that's it. That's my 2 cents about this. So I'm sorry if you were expecting a very geeky video. This is more serious, but thanks for listening anyways. Okay, bye.